So good day, sir. So I'm the Cadet Renjen Garcia Abad, and today I'm going to explain or apply my understanding based on the following topic that has been discussed. So the first question is, if the variation and deviation is given, how to determine the compass error? So based on the discussion last week, so in computing the compass error, so we should always take note that if the variation and deviation has the same direction, so we should add and copy the direction, and if the variation has the opposite direction, so we should subtract for the direction, copy the highest value either east or west. So I have an example. So number one, so for the variation, so we have 54 degrees 23 minutes and 30 seconds east, and for the deviation, so we have 32 degrees 12 minutes and 26 seconds west. So in order to get the compass error, since it is opposite direction, for the variation it is east and the deviation it lies in the west, so we must subtract. So after we subtract, so we get the compass error of 22 degrees 11 minutes and 4 seconds east. Why? Because as you can see in the given, so the variation has a greatest value. So next is, I have another example. So the variation is 9 degrees 43 minutes and 11 minutes west, and the deviation is 5 degrees 33 minutes and 4 seconds west. So as you notice, the variation and deviation has the same direction. So as I've said earlier, that if the variation and deviation has the same direction, so we should add. So now we have a compass error of 15 degrees 16 minutes and 15 seconds west. So for the question number 2, so if the compass error and variation are given, how to determine the deviation? So in order to determine the deviation, we need to add or subtract the compass error and to get the deviation. So here is an example. So number 1, so as you can see, we have a compass error of 6 degrees west, and the variation, we have a variation of 8 degrees and 32 minutes east. So we must add to get the deviations from compass error and the variation. So now we have a variation of 14 degrees 32 minutes west. So second example, we have a compass error of 4 degrees and 21 minutes west, and we have a variation of 11 degrees and 32 minutes west. So same direction. So here so as I've said, that we need to subtract the compass error since it has the same direction. So the direction must change, either west, it becomes to west, east rather. So now, so we must subtract. So we have a deviation of 7 degrees and 11 minutes east. So the next question is, if the true bearing and compass bearing are given, how to determine the compass error? So based on the discussion, in order to determine the compass error, so we must subtract the compass bearing and the true bearing. So it's very understandable. So I have a sample given, or sample problem. So now we have a compass bearing of 140 degrees, true bearing is 54 degrees and 14 minutes. So our question is, what is the compass error? So always take note that the compass best, the error is west, and the compass least, the error is east. So we must subtract the compass bearing, which is 143, and the true bearing, which is 54 degrees and 14 minutes. So we have a compass error of 87 degrees and 14 minutes west, just because the compass bearing has a greater value compared to the true bearing. So the fourth one, so if the compass course, deviation and variation are given, how to determine the true course? So in order to get the true bearing, so we must use the correcting method, which is the CDMVT, or the candid man vote twice at attendance. So then we must always take note that we need to add if it is in the east and subtract if it is in the west. So in the given example, so we have a compass course of 276 degrees. Deviation is 6 degrees east. So since it lies in the east, we must add. So 276 plus 6 degrees, it becomes 282 degrees. So we have already the magnetic course. So the problem is how we can get the true course. So it was already given that the true course is 4 degrees west. So as I've said, that we need to subtract if it is in the west. So from 282 degrees as our magnetic course, since we have a variation of 4 degrees west, so we need to subtract, and finally we can get, or we have a true course of 278. So number 5, so if the true course, variation, and deviation are given, how to determine the compass course? So in this case, it is opposite in determining the true course. So we must use the uncorrecting method, or the TMVDC, or the Trovergens-McDowell company. Then we must take note again that we need to add if it lies in the west, and subtract it if it lies in the east. So in the given example, so we have a true course of 150 degrees, a variation of 6 degrees. So since our variation is in the east, so we must subtract from the true course. So 153 minus 6, we have a magnetic course of 147, and we have a deviation of 9 degrees west. So 147 degrees plus 9 degrees, so we can have already our compass course, which is the 156 degrees. And last question is how to update a variation in compass rose. So here, as there's a picture, so as you can see in the picture, in the year 2009, variation has a variation of 4 degrees and 15 minutes west, and it has 8 minutes east changes in year. So now, since we are now in 2022 and the compass rose is 2009, so we must subtract 2022 minus 2009. So we have a 13 years gap, or 13 years ago. So 13 years plus are multiplied by 8 minutes east, so which is the decrease of minutes in year. So we've get 1 degree and 44 minutes east. So this value is the total correction for 13 years, or within 13 years. So the question is this the latest update of the variation? No. So the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract from the latest variation and the variation given in the compass rose. So since in the compass rose the variation is 4 degrees 15 minutes west, and we have a latest variation, or the correction, of 1 degree and 44 minutes east. So since it has an opposite direction, so we must subtract. So now we have updated variation of 2 degrees and 31 minutes west, since the variation given in the compass rose has a greatest value compared to the correction in degree, in latest correction. So now finally we have a updated variation for the year 2022 of 2 degrees and 31 minutes west. So that would be all. Thank you.